Most people believe that if they do the right things for long enough, retirement will eventually take care of itself. They work hard, earn a decent income, save when they can, and try to avoid obvious financial mistakes. On the surface, everything looks fine. Friends and family would probably say they are doing well. But if you are over 40, there is often a quiet feeling that shows up when no one else is around. Not panic, not fear, just a low, steady discomfort that is hard to explain. A feeling that sounds like, I think I'm doing okay, but I'm not completely sure. This feeling doesn't come from it comes from awareness. Somewhere along the way, you start noticing that time feels different than it used to. Your career doesn't feel as predictable. Your energy isn't endless anymore. Your responsibilities are heavier, not lighter. And the future doesn't feel as clean or simple as it once did. Yet most retirement advice still assumes a very simple future. Almost like life will politely cooperate if you just follow the rules. Before we go deeper, if you're over 40 and want calm, realistic financial thinking instead of hype or panic, subscribe to the channel. After 40 Finance is about clarity, not fear, and control, not confusion. For decades, retirement has been presented as a math problem. Save a percentage of your income, invest consistently, and wait long enough. The message was simple and comforting. If you're responsible, everything will line up in the end. But here's what most people don't realize until much later in life. Retirement problems almost never start with bad math. They start with bad assumptions, and the most dangerous assumption of all has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with time. Most people assume that time will cooperate. They assume their career will remain stable long enough. They assume their income will stay close to where it is now. They assume they will be able to work longer if they ever need to. They assume their health will allow it. These assumptions don't feel reckless. In fact, they feel reasonable. After all, planning for a smooth future feels better than imagining disruption. So instead of questioning these assumptions, people quietly build their entire financial future on top of them. And that is where the damage begins. After 40, time no longer behaves the way it did in your 20s or 30s. You may still have many working years ahead of you, but those years are no longer guaranteed to look the same. Layoffs happen faster and with less warning. Burnout hits harder and lasts longer. Health concerns stop being abstract ideas and start becoming real conversations. Family responsibilities increase instead of disappearing. But most retirement plans pretend none of this exists. They assume steady work until a specific age. They assume income will rise smoothly or at least stay level. They assume expenses will naturally fall. They assume retirement happens once, cleanly, and permanently. That version of retirement worked for a previous generation. It does not reflect modern reality. This is why so many Americans over 40 feel financially stuck even with good incomes. They are not failing. They are following a plan that depends on stability in a world that no longer guarantees it. They did what they were told. They followed the rules. But the rules were written for a version of life that has quietly disappeared. Here's a pattern that shows up again and again. Someone in their 40s or early 50s earns well. They contribute to a 401k. They avoid extreme lifestyle inflation, and they tell themselves they still have plenty of time. So they delay certain decisions. They delay thinking seriously about healthcare costs before Medicare. They delay stress testing what happens if income drops earlier than expected. They delay asking what retirement actually looks like in real life, not just on paper. They delay building alternative income paths or flexibility, not because they are lazy or careless, but because the assumption tells them waiting is safe. I still have time. That sentence quietly shapes everything. It influences how aggressively they save, how much risk they take, and how honest they are with themselves about the future. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Time after 40 is conditional. You don't lose time all at once. You lose flexibility first. And once flexibility is gone, even good savings can start to feel fragile. Most people imagine retirement as a finish line. Work until a certain age, cross the line, and finally rest. But modern retirement is rarely a straight line. It often includes partial work, consulting, reduced hours, unexpected pauses, rising healthcare costs, and supporting adult children or aging parents. If your plan assumes one clean transition, it is vulnerable. And vulnerable plans don't collapse dramatically. They erode quietly through stress, uncertainty, and constantly moving goalposts. This is why some people with less money feel calmer than people with more. The difference isn't income, it's expectations. There are two types of retirement planning. One is built on optimism, the other is built on resilience. Optimistic plans assume things will mostly go right. Resilient plans assume life will interrupt and prepare for it. Most people don't choose optimism on purpose. They inherit it from outdated advice. But resilience is what actually protects you. And this is where we need to slow down, because this next part changes everything. Because once expectations are wrong, even good decisions start feeling stressful. Here's something most people don't want to admit. Many retirement plans are not designed to succeed. They are designed to feel comforting. They rely on averages, smooth timelines, and best-case scenarios, because those are easier to live with emotionally. It feels better to believe that your career will last as long as you want it to. It feels safer to assume that your health will cooperate. It feels responsible to trust that markets will rise over time and cover small planning gaps. But comfort is not the same as security. Security comes from planning for disruption. This is why two people with the same income and similar savings can feel completely different about retirement. One feels calm, the other feels constantly uneasy. The difference is not intelligence or discipline, it's whether their plan depends on everything going right. Most people over 40 have never actually stress tested their future. They never ask questions like, what happens if my income drops 5 years earlier than planned? What happens if I need to stop working before I want to? What happens if healthcare costs rise faster than expected? What happens if I can't rely on one primary source of income? Instead, they assume answers will appear later. But later is exactly when options start narrowing. This is why flexibility matters more than precision after 40. A plan that looks perfect on paper but has no flexibility will break under pressure. A plan that allows adjustment can survive imperfect outcomes. Retirement security is not about predicting the future correctly, it's about surviving the future comfortably. At this stage of life, the biggest mistake is believing that saving more alone will fix everything. Saving is important, but it is not the full picture. You also need adaptability. You need optionality. You need room to move if life pushes back. Think about how often people say, I'll just work a little longer if I need to. That sounds practical, but it assumes working longer is always a choice. For many people, it isn't. Job markets change. Industries shift. Energy declines. Priorities change. Family situations evolve. Relying on extra working years as a backup plan is risky if it hasn't been honestly examined. Another assumption people rarely challenge is the belief that expenses will naturally drop in retirement. Sometimes they do, often they don't. Early retirement years are frequently expensive. People travel, they invest in their health, they help family. Inflation quietly eats purchasing power. If your plan depends on spending less without testing that assumption now, it is built on hope, not evidence. This is why so many people reach their 50s feeling anxious even though they've done everything right. They followed the advice, they checked the boxes, but the advice never asked them to question the assumptions underneath the plan. Now here's the moment where everything becomes clear. The retirement assumption that quietly ruins most financial plans is the belief that your future will be stable enough to follow one straight, uninterrupted timeline. Once you recognize this, retirement planning stops being about a single age or number. It becomes about flexibility. It becomes about building a structure that can handle change without collapsing. Instead of asking only, how much do I need by 65? You'll start asking, how resilient is my plan if life changes earlier? Instead of assuming you can always earn the same income, you ask how many income options you have. Instead of trusting that everything will align, you build margin. This shift is powerful because it replaces anxiety with clarity. You stop feeling like you're behind and start feeling like you're prepared. And here's the good news. If you are over 40, this is not too late. In fact, this is the exact window where awareness creates the most value. You still have earning power, you still have time to adjust, you still have leverage, but only if you stop relying on assumptions that no longer fit reality. People who feel calm about retirement are not lucky, they are intentional. They question what others accept. They plan for disruption without panicking. They design their future around adaptability instead of perfection. If this video helped you see retirement differently, share it with someone who's been quietly worried but never says it out loud. These conversations matter more than most people realize. And in the comments, write one sentence about the assumption you are questioning right now. Not for me, for yourself. Awareness is where control begins. Retirement doesn't fail because people don't care. It fails because they care, but plan with incomplete assumptions. The moment you replace assumption with awareness, your entire financial future becomes more stable, even if the path ahead is uncertain.